There comes a moment in every person's life when silence becomes self-betrayal, when endurance turns into slow self-destruction, when loyalty, misunderstood, chains you to pain instead of purpose. You were not placed on this earth to be drained, diminished, or domesticated by anyone, no matter how close they are to you. Blood does not give permission to poison. History does not justify harm, and familiarity does not excuse disrespect. Strength begins the moment you decide that your inner peace is more sacred than anyone's comfort with your suffering. The first toxic behavior you must never tolerate is constant disrespect disguised as honesty. There are people who claim they are just being real while repeatedly cutting you down. This is not truth. It is cruelty wearing a mask. Truth is meant to sharpen, not to humiliate. Correction is meant to elevate, not to belittle. When someone repeatedly speaks to you in a way that weakens your confidence, erodes your self-worth, and leaves you feeling small, understand this: no relationship has the right to make you hate who you are becoming. The second toxic behavior is emotional manipulation through guilt and obligation. You are not a tool designed to meet everyone's unmet expectations. When love is turned into a transaction, when affection is withdrawn to control you, when guilt is used to bend your will, you are no longer in a relationship, you are in captivity. Family should be a place of refuge, not a courtroom where you are always on trial for choosing your own life. The third toxic behavior is the refusal to respect your boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors with locks. They protect what matters. Anyone who mocks your limits, ignores your no, or punishes you for standing firm is not confused. They are threatened by your growth. A person who truly cares about you will not demand access to parts of your life that cost you your peace. The fourth toxic behavior is constant negativity and discouragement. There are people who fear change because it exposes their stagnation, so they criticize your dreams, minimize your ambitions, and label your growth as arrogance. They call your discipline obsession and your vision unrealistic. But understand this: anyone who truly wants the best for you will never ask you to stay small so they can feel big. The fifth toxic behavior is playing the victim to avoid accountability. Some people refuse to take responsibility for the damage they cause. They rewrite history, deny your pain, and accuse you of being too sensitive. This is not misunderstanding. This is avoidance. Healing cannot happen where accountability is absent. Growth cannot exist where truth is constantly rewritten. The sixth and most dangerous toxic behavior is conditional love. Love that exists only when you obey, comply, or conform is not love, it is control. The moment you step out of line, you are punished with silence, rejection, or hostility. But real love does not demand the death of your identity. Real love does not require you to abandon your values, your purpose, or your calling. Choosing distance from toxic behavior is not hatred. It is not betrayal. It is self-respect. Sometimes the bravest act of love is walking away, not to punish others, but to protect your future. You cannot heal in the same environment that wounded you. You cannot rise while carrying the weight of unresolved dysfunction. So today, make a decision. Stop normalizing what is destroying you. Stop explaining your pain to people who benefit from your silence. Draw the line. Speak the truth. Choose growth over guilt. Choose peace over proximity. Choose strength over fear. Walk forward with clarity. Stand firm with courage. And never forget, your life has purpose, your soul has value, and no one has the right to take that from you. The moment you refuse to tolerate toxicity is the moment you reclaim your power. From a young age, many people are taught that loyalty to family is absolute, that endurance is a virtue, and that tolerance is proof of love. Over time, this belief becomes a quiet prison. It convinces you to accept words that wound, behaviors that degrade, and attitudes that slowly erode your self-respect. Disrespect, when repeated, is not a mistake. It is a pattern. And patterns reveal intentions. When someone constantly dismisses your feelings, mocks your values, or undermines your efforts, they are not being honest or real. They are asserting dominance. They are reminding you, subtly and repeatedly, that they expect you to remain smaller than your potential. Disrespect rarely arrives loudly at first. It creeps in disguised as jokes, sarcasm, or concern. It sounds like criticism for your own good. It looks like comparisons that always place you beneath someone else. At first, you brush it off. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. You convince yourself that enduring it is the price of belonging. But every time you stay silent, something inside you shrinks, confidence fades, self-trust weakens, and slowly you begin to question your own worth, not because you lack it, but because you are surrounded by voices determined to deny it. Family does not mean immunity from accountability. Closeness does not cancel out character. When blood ties are used as a shield to excuse bad behavior, disrespect becomes normalized. You are expected to forgive endlessly, to understand endlessly, to endure endlessly, while the behavior never changes. This is not love. Love challenges, corrects, and protects. Disrespect drains, controls, and dominates. Anyone who truly values you will not consistently speak to you in a way that leaves you feeling ashamed, inferior, or invisible. Tolerating disrespect trains others how to treat you. What you allow becomes the standard. When you accept harsh words without consequence, you teach people that your dignity is negotiable. When you laugh off insults to keep the peace, you declare that your peace is less important than theirs. Over time, this dynamic hardens. The disrespect grows bolder. The comments become sharper. The behavior becomes more public. And the longer it continues, the harder it becomes to stop. Choosing not to tolerate disrespect is not an act of aggression. It is an act of clarity. It is the moment you decide that your self-worth is not up for debate. It requires courage to say, I will not accept this anymore, especially when the person across from you has known you your entire life. But growth demands discomfort. Transformation demands boundaries. The version of you that is disciplined, focused, and self-respecting cannot coexist with environments that constantly tear you down. Respect is not something you earn through suffering. It is something you claim through standards. The moment you stop allowing disrespect, you begin to reclaim your voice. You stand taller. You speak clearer. You move differently. And those who relied on your silence will feel threatened, not because you are wrong, but because you are no longer controllable. Most people misunderstand boundaries because they confuse them with rejection. From the outside, a boundary can look like distance, defiance, or coldness, but in reality, it is structure. It is the framework that allows a person to remain whole. Without boundaries, your time, energy, emotions, and values become public property. Anyone with enough confidence or entitlement feels free to take from you without asking, to demand explanations, to override your needs, and to punish you when you resist. Over time, this constant intrusion leaves you exhausted, resentful, and disconnected from yourself. Boundaries become necessary the moment access to you starts costing you your peace. When your words are ignored, your limits mocked, and your no treated as an inconvenience, something deeper is happening. A person who cannot respect your boundaries is not struggling to understand them, they are struggling to accept that they no longer control you. Control thrives in ambiguity, it feeds on silence and guilt. Boundaries remove that ambiguity. They are clear, they are firm. And because of that, they often provoke resistance. There is a reason people push back when you begin to set limits. For a long time, your availability benefited them. Your compliance made life easier, your silence protected their comfort. When you draw a line, you disrupt a familiar pattern. Suddenly, they must face their behavior, adjust their expectations, or lose access to you. Instead of taking responsibility, they label your boundaries as selfish, disrespectful, or dramatic. This manipulation is designed to pull you back into your old role, the one where you gave more than you had and asked for less than you deserved. A boundary is not an argument. It does not require justification or debate. The more you explain, the more room you give for negotiation. Boundaries are statements of truth, not invitations for approval. When you say, I am not comfortable with this, or I will not accept being spoken to that way, you are not asking for permission. You are defining the terms of engagement. Anyone who truly respects you will adjust their behavior. Anyone who repeatedly violates your boundaries is revealing that their desires matter more to them than your well-being. Setting boundaries is uncomfortable because it forces you to confront guilt. Guilt whispers that you are responsible for other people's emotions, that protecting yourself is an act of betrayal, that saying no will make you unlovable. But guilt is not a moral compass. It is often a residue of conditioning. You are taught to be agreeable, accommodating, and self-sacrificing, even at your own expense. Breaking that conditioning feels wrong at first, not because it is wrong, but because it is unfamiliar. As boundaries become stronger, your identity becomes clearer. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop bending to avoid conflict. Your energy shifts from reaction to intention. You begin to choose where you invest your time, who has access to your inner world, and what behavior you tolerate. This clarity creates space for healthier relationships, deeper focus, and internal stability. People who align with your values will respect your limits without resentment. Those who depended on your lack of boundaries will either adapt or fall away. And in that separation, you begin to experience a new level of self-respect that changes how you walk, how you speak, and how you see yourself. Peace is often misunderstood as something passive, something soft, something reserved for people who avoid struggle. In reality, peace is forged through conflict, discipline, and repeated acts of courage. It is not the absence of chaos around you, but the refusal to let chaos live within you. Protecting your peace means making decisions that are not always popular, not always understood, and rarely applauded. It means choosing long-term stability over short-term comfort, even when familiar patterns pull at you with emotional gravity. Every day, you are confronted with choices that either preserve your peace or slowly dismantle it. The conversations you engage in, the environments you tolerate, the people you allow access to your inner world. All of these decisions accumulate. One moment of silence in the face of disrespect may seem small, but repeated silence becomes self-abandonment. One compromise of your values may feel harmless, but repeated compromise erodes your integrity. Peace is protected not through grand gestures, but through daily, disciplined alignment with what you know to be right. Walking away from toxic behavior feels like loss at first. You lose familiarity. You lose routines. You lose the illusion of harmony. But what you gain is far greater. You gain clarity. You gain emotional stability. You gain the ability to think, create, and move forward without constant internal resistance. The mind cannot function at its highest level when it is constantly on defense. Protecting your peace frees mental space that was previously consumed by stress, anxiety, and emotional labor. There will be moments when choosing peace feels lonely. When you realize that some connections only existed because you tolerated dysfunction. When the silence after setting boundaries feels heavier than the noise you left behind. This is the cost of growth. Not everyone can follow you into a healthier version of life. Some people are attached to the version of you that was easier to control, easier to dismiss, easier to drain. When you change, the relationship changes. When the relationship cannot evolve, separation becomes inevitable. Protecting your peace requires vigilance. It requires you to notice patterns, to trust your instincts, and to respond instead of react. It means paying attention to how you feel after interactions, not just how others feel about you. If you repeatedly leave conversations feeling tense, diminished, or emotionally exhausted, your peace is being taxed, and anything that taxes your peace is extracting a cost from your future. Over time, that cost becomes too expensive to ignore. Peace is not maintained by avoiding confrontation, but by choosing the right confrontations. It is maintained by honest conversations, firm decisions, and the willingness to endure discomfort now to avoid long-term damage later. Strength is not measured by how much you can tolerate, but by how clearly you can say no to what harms you. As you continue to protect your peace, your standards rise, your reactions slow, your confidence deepens. You become less reactive and more intentional. Life stops feeling like something that happens to you and begins to feel like something you direct. And in that state of internal order, You operate with a quiet power that does not need to announce itself, because it is felt in every choice you make and every boundary you uphold.